ॐ नमो नारायणाय। ॐ नमो नारायणाय।
श्रीशैलेशदयापात्रं धीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवम् यतीन्द्रप्रवणं वन्दे रम्यजामातरं मुनिम्। लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। यो नित्यम् अच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये। लोकाचार्याय गुरवे कृष्णपादस्य सूनवे संसारभोगिसन्दष्टजीवजीवातवे नमः।
श्रीशैलेशदयापात्रं धीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवम् यतीन्द्रप्रवणं वन्दे रम्यजामातरं मुनिम्। लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मं व्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये। लोकाचार्याय गुरवे कृष्णपादस्य सूनवे संसारभोगिसन्दष्टजीवजीवातवे नमः। So we were discussing this sutra number 128. இவள் தாயாய் இவர்கள் கிளேசம் பொறுக்க மாட்டாதே, அவனுக்கு பத்னியாய் இனிய விஷயமாயிருக்கையானே கண்ணழிவற்ற புருஷகாரம் திருவடியை பொறுப்பிக்கும் அவள் தன் சொல்வழி வருமவனை பொறுப்பிக்க சொல்ல வேண்டாவிரே. So the literal meaning is as follows. The goddess Mahalakshmi plays a dual role as mentioned earlier. In the Trimantra Prakaranam also this has been mentioned in detail. So she is the mother divine of all the beings in this universe, and also she is the consort of Lord Narayana. And therefore she is interested both in the welfare or the attaining of moksha of all the jivatmas in this world, and at the same time she is also interested or very much cooperative in helping the Supreme Lord Narayana run his mandate, whatever it is, with regard to punya and tapa. So these are the two aspects that she has to take care. She cannot transgress the rules laid down by the Supreme Lord, and at the same time she can also not be in she is not what do you say, what is the word, insensitive. She can also not be insensitive to the problems or insensitive to the miseries that the we jivatmas undergo. So she also has to take a shortcut and help us attain moksha by overcoming all the miseries. At the same time, she cannot also transgress the rules of the Supreme Lord. So there is a saying in English, in the Indian context, don't break the rules but bend the rules. So many a times what happens is there is a stick. So if you can bend it, nothing will happen to it. And if you need it to be passed in some hole or something like that, bend it. But if you break the stick, there will be a problem. So that's why they say you may bend it but not break it. Similarly, in the Indian context, in the government, they said, no, don't break the rules, but you can bend the rules. So what the Supreme Goddess Mahalakshmi does is, she helps in bend rules by seeing that some beings can attain Supreme Lord in a very easy manner. And one very important aspect that I wanted to continue from the previous class was the aspect which we mentioned as Thiruval Porupikkumaval. When she is able to convince Lord Hanuman regarding what has to be done, will she not be able to convince the Supreme Lord, who is closest to her? So how did she convince this Anjaneya, Lord Hanuman in Ramayana? So the story like this, as I mentioned in the last class, after Ravana is killed in the battle, the news of the death of Ravana, which is actually an auspicious news, is to be made to Goddess Sita. So who will be who person to actually do so? So naturally, it is who else but Hanuman, who has always been best of messengers. So these portions in the Ramayana are very, very, very beautiful from the point of view of Sanskrit language, from the point of view of what we call as statecraft, etc. Because after Hanuman comes back, after meeting Sita for the first, at the end of Sundarakanda, the good qualities of the best, the average, and the worst dutas are enumerated by Ram himself. Who is the best messenger? Who is a messenger who is mediocre, neither good nor bad? And who is a bad messenger? So it's Uttama and Madhyama in Sanskrit language. Uttama is the best, Madhyama is middling or mediocre, Adhama is the bad or worst person. Well, I was among that class. So here, Rama says, Hanuman, I had just sent Hanuman to give this small piece of an ornament to him, that is my own finger ring, and come back and just see if Sita was alive. But on the other hand, Hanuman achieved much more than what he was mandated to do. So he is an Uttama Duta. So he not only talked to Ravana, he warned Ravana, he actually he gave a taste of the things to come. Because he says, Balai Kadeshaha Kshapitaha. An entire portion of the forces of Ravana were actually done away with, they were disposed of by Hanuman single-handedly. So Hanuman is the Adarsha Duta, or he is the model messenger. So he is asked to go to Sita and convey to her that Ravana has been killed. So naturally, as per the orders given by Lord Rama and others, he goes to Sita in Ashokavana and he tells that Ravana is no more. Of course, Sita doesn't rejoice, or she rejoices in a very magnanimous manner and says, fine. Then Hanuman asks for a boon. As I mentioned earlier, when a very auspicious news is conveyed to someone who is in a very exalted position, that person himself or herself will give something very valuable to the messenger. So even in the Ayodhya Kanda of Ramayana, when this Manthara or Mandari, as she is known in Tamil, she comes to know of the coronation of Rama, which is proposed. And she immediately comes to Kaikeyi and conveys the news that Rama is about to be coronated as the crown king or Yuvaraja on the next day. So Kaikeyi feels so happy because she is so much fond of Rama because of his wonderful qualities. So she immediately removes a necklace from her neck and she hands it over to Mandara. There is no news that is dearer to me than Rama becoming the king. That's what she says initially. Until Mantara actually poisons her mind. So then Hanuman asks, I have conveyed a great news to you. Would you not grant me a boon? Immediately, Sita says, yes, so be it. Then he says, the boon I want is, I want to somehow or the other afflict these demonesses who have been troubling you knowing for the last 6 months or so. And I want to torture them and kill them. So you please permit to do that. It is then that Sita says this wonderful shloka, which is given a great place in the Sri Vaishnava literature, or even while narrating the true qualities of a Sri Vaishnava. So what Sita says is, Papanam va shubhanam va madharhanam plavangama karyam karunamaryena kaschinna paradhyati. So whether it is a person who has committed some good deeds, whether it's a person who has committed bad deeds, or even if a person has committed some deed for which the death penalty is warranted. Even with regard to such persons, karyam karunamaryena, the utmost or the most important quality one has to show to them is compassion. So that is why in the Bhagavad Gita, while enumerating the qualities of Daivi Sampat, so Lord Krishna classifies persons into two categories. Those who are born of Daivi Sampat, that is divine qualities, Sampat, that is demonic qualities. So what is Daivi Sampat? That is Daivi Sampat Vimokshaya Nibandhaya Asuri. One who is endowed with divine qualities will get liberated. And one who is having or associated or possesses demonic qualities is going to be bound in this samsara. So among the most important qualities that are associated with Daivi Sampati is Daya Bhute Shvabho Aloruptam Mardavam Hrihi Achapalam. This has to be explained in very great detail because this Daivi Sampati is one of the most important aspects of a Sri Vaishnava also. So that is the first among them is Daya Bhuteshu. You should have utmost compassion for all beings in this world. That is what is known as Bhuta Daya in Sanskrit. Bhuta means being. So having compassion towards all beings in this world. So that is why the Sri Vaishnava faith has as its most important quality Daya or compassion, or what is known as, when Daya attains a very, very advanced stage, it becomes Vatsalya. So Vatsalya means where even the mistakes or fallacies committed by a person who is considered to be a guna, it is considered to be a virtue, not out of some blind attachment towards a person, but purely out of compassion. So suppose a person loves his wife very much. Even if she commits a crime, he may say, no, it's not a crime at all. She has done it out of some other power or something like that. That is not Vatsalya. So there is a very fine dividing line where actually if the person is extremely devoted and if he unknowingly or unwittingly commits a mistake, such a mistake should be considered as a guna or a quality or as a positive aspect. So many a times the people who give discourses, I'm sure in a very, whether they are whichever tradition or whichever religion they belong to, they will say God's mercy is so great that He will pardon of all the sins. And they will also take it as a premise to commit several sins, more sins, saying that the Lord is so compassionate that He will pardon all the sins. No, it is totally wrong. This is specifically mentioned by Ramanujacharya in his Bhashya, in one of the Adhikaranas that I recently taught in another class. So if He will pardon all the sins of all persons, then why do you have the concept of Naraka or hell or things like that? And why are people under so much of sin? That is not correct. If a person is totally devoted to the Supreme Lord or his devotees, and he unwillingly or unwittingly or unknowingly commits some crimes, or he commits some crime due to the influence of some effect that is beyond his control, such a crime will be condoned. It will be forgiven. So that's why Lord Krishna says, Apichet su duracharaha bhajate mam ananyabha sadhureva samantanya. Even if a person who is given to several fallacies, he worships me alone as the sum and substance of everything, then all his crimes or all his mistakes, fallacies will be condoned. But there also my Acharya used to say, suppose a person is given to drinking alcohol, it is a crime according to the Indian tradition, which is called as Surapan. So there is a very beautiful saying, kindly don't mistake me for saying, please take it in the right spirit, I appeal to you. So there is a saying in Sanskrit, it says in a shloka there are two sentences or two halves. One says, Eshtavya bhavav putraha yadyekopi gayam brajet. This was in those days when this statement is found in Ramayana itself, which we are discussing now. It says, Eshtavya bhavav putraha. One should have as many sons as possible. Because among those sons, at least one son may, or he should, all of them should do, at least one son will go to Gaya and perform the obsequies or Shraddha in the Gaya Kshetra, in the exalted location of Gaya for his parents. So, Eshtavya bhavav putraha yadyekopi Gayam brajet. The next half is not from Ramayana, but it is coupled as the next half by our forefathers. It says, Na eshtavya bhavav putraha yadyekopi suram pibet. Don't have many children. Because even if one among them drinks alcoholic or consumes alcoholic drinks, then it is the most worst thing that he can do. Because it will affect all the forefathers. So even in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna says, Patanti pitaro hyesham lupta pinda udaka kriya. So it is in the hands of the son or the children to ensure the wellness of his forefathers, his father, his grandfather, his great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, etc. So coming back, sorry for the digression. So coming back to this thing. So compassion where it is required. So asthane daya or asthane karunya is totally incorrect. That is why Yamunacharya says in the beginning of Gita Artha Sangraha, Asthana sneha karunya dharma dharma dhiya akulam partham prapannam uddishya shastravatam kritam. Wasn't Arjuna correct? Because he had so much of compassion towards the person with whom he had to fight in the battlefield. No. Because asthana sneha karunya dharma dharma dhiya akulam. Arjuna, in the beginning of the episode of Bhagavad Gita was overcome by passion, compassion, and also friendship. With regard to whom he should not have had. So in some cases, compassion is not good. Persons who have to be punished have to be punished. So there is a very, very, very fine dividing line between these two. We have to understand this. So here, Goddess Ita says, so in that right only you have to understand. Otherwise, then why would people get afflicted by so many diseases, etc.? Because all these are the fruits of our previous karmas that we are all undergoing today. So it says, Karyam karuna maryena nakaschinna paradhyati. So she says, there is no person who does not commit a crime or commit a sin. Therefore, you have to have compassion. Without compassion, nothing can move in this world. Even for a mother to feed her child, the first aspect that works in her mind is compassion. Of course, the added thing that it's her, but a real woman who is actually having the virtue of compassion as her main virtue, any person, any child who is angry will actually be fed by that mother in an appropriate manner. So compassion is the most important quality one should possess. And that is Daivi Sampat, according to Lord Krishna, who says in the Bhagavad Gita, Na Bhuteshu. That is Eshu Daya. Daya. So this is what she says. Aryam Karunam. Then she says, and have these demonesses troubled me on their own account? Did they have any animosity towards me because of any personal grudge? No. They were orders of Ravana. And what they have done is quite right as far as they are concerned. So please pardon them. That's what she says. So this is on the other hand, if some other person would have been in the place of Sita, what would they have done? They would have immediately said, yes, these bloody demonesses are troubling me so much. You just pack them off. Either you kill them or you whatever you want. You have asked the right thing. I am very happy. I will permit you to torture them. You do whatever you want. No. So she convinces Hanuman to do it and also says there are several aspects that are very important from the view of language used. She says, Papanam va Shubhanam va Vadharhanam Lavangama. She addresses Hanuman, oh monkey, and not as Hanuman or Jineya, etc., as she was doing earlier. That means you have failed to realize this delicacy. This very delicate issue that these demonesses deserve nothing else but compassion. So in our case also, though we have committed, that is why it is very important to draw the fine line. One should not say that I will commit any sin. It is the duty of Goddess Mahalakshmi who will do Purushakara and make Lord accept. No. If unknowingly or unwittingly some crime is committed, yes, then definitely it is controlled. But it has several ifs. That is, be dedicated to the Supreme Lord completely. When we are, even though we are dedicated, there are several what we call as vas. இவழ்த்தாயாய் கிளேசம் பொறுக்கமாட்டாதே அவனுக்கு பத்னியாய் இனிய விஷயமாய் இருக்கையாலே கண்ணழிவற்ற புருஷகாரம் திருவடியை பொறுப்பிக்கும் அவள் தன் சொல்வழி வரும் அவனை பொறுப்பிக்க சொல்ல வேண்டாவிரே. So the literal meaning is as follows: when she is able to convince Lord Hanuman, will she not be able to convince Lord Narayana? Therefore, the convincing power of Goddess Mahalakshmi is highlighted here. And therefore, she is besieged to play a very vital role in mediating between the Jivatma and the Paramatma. So that is the Matu Pare Iruvarshetyam Nityam Engiradhu. So you have to understand some aspects of Sanskrit grammar in this context. So Shriman Narayana Charan Sharanam. So it is Shriman Narayana. So Shriman Narayana means what? Shriman Narayana. When you split the word Shriman Narayana is actually a compound word. So when you actually split it, it becomes Shriman and Narayana. So what is the meaning of Shriman? So there is the nominal stem called Shri. For example, when you say Ramasya Pustakam, something like that, we call Rama as the Pratipadika or the nominal stem. And then when you say Ramasya, it is the suffix that is taking the form of Sya. Similarly, Shriman Narayana, when you split the compound of Shriman Narayana, it becomes Shriman and Narayana. So this is one way of splitting it. Of course, another way of splitting it also is mentioned. I'll come to that later. So what is the meaning of Shrimati? So that when you actually, the nominal stem is Shrimati. So before that, before the compound is applied, the word is Shri, which means Goddess Mahalakshmi, as we know. We have understood the etymology of the word Shri, some 5 or 6 different meanings. So Shri and Mati. Mati is actually the final form of the suffix called Matu. So this Matu has a specific meaning. What is the meaning? There are several meanings for the word Matu, for the stem, for the suffix called Matu. So what is the meaning in this context? Because the word Matu is so Nitya Yoge Matu, Atishayane Matu, etc. That means the Panini Sutra defines the meaning of Matu as follows. It says, Rasya asti or asmin asti iti Matu. For example, we give a very mundane example, Ghatavate Bhutanam. So when there is a pot on the floor, we call it as Ghatavat. The Matu Pratyaya, the Matu suffix becomes Vat in this context. Due to some grammatical peculiarities, let us not worry. That means Ghatavate Bhutanam means the floor consists of the pot, or the floor has a pot. So here also it means Narayana, who consists of Shri or Goddess Mahalakshmi. So, but consists of in what sense? For example, when I say there is a pot on the floor, so the floor consists of the pot. It is a very temporary association because we keep the pot on the floor for 5 minutes. Then we may take it and put it in some other place, or we may take it to draw water from the well. Then we may keep it in some other place. So for few minutes, I might have kept it there. Sometimes Matup is used to show that this is the best quality. So for example, if I say Satyavan, so he alone has Satya, not anybody else. So we call it as Atishayani. So there are several meanings. So it says Bhumaninda Prashamsasu, Nitya Yoge Atishayani, Sambandhe Asti Vivakshayam Bhavanti Matupadayah. So when there is a huge amount of some entity which is present in one place, then we use matu pratyaya. So matu pratyaya, the suffix matu is used in several senses. In this context, it is nitya yoge matu. Nitya yoge matu means eternal connection or eternal association. So when you say Shriman Narayana, it means Narayana who is eternally associated with Goddess Mahalakshmi. So it's not like in the sense of Ghatavate Bhutanam, or when we say the pot consists of the floor consists of a pot where the association is very, very, very temporary or momentary. So in this context, Matup is used in the sense of Nitya Yoga or eternal association. So when did the association between Goddess Mahalakshmi and Lord Narayana start? There is no beginning, because both of them are eternal beings. And when will it end? It will never end, because both of them are eternal and both of them are eternally associated with each other. So Lord Narayana is eternal, Goddess Mahalakshmi is eternal, and their relationship also is eternal. So it is mentioned as Nitya Yoge Matupe. So it is Matupare Iruvarshetyam Nityam Yengiradi. So Srimat Narayana, it is actually Sriman Narayana, it becomes Srimate Narayana due to grammatical transactions that are exclusive to Sanskrit language. And then there is a Sandhi which becomes Sriman Narayana. So that Mat, which represents the Matup suffix called Matup, here denotes that the association between the Supreme Lord Narayana and Goddess Mahalakshmi is eternal. It can never be broken by anybody at any moment. So it is totally eternal. So it is mentioned as Ishertiyum, Iruvarshertiyum, that is the association of each other or one with the other is eternal. Ivalode Kudiye Vastuvinudaya Unmai. The existence of Lord Narayana is always with Goddess Mahalakshmi. So there one cannot even imagine the existence of Lord Narayana without Lakshmi. Similarly, vice versa. One cannot even imagine the existence of Goddess Mahalakshmi without Lord Narayana. That is why in the Ramayana, Goddess Sita very beautifully proclaims Ananya Raghavenaham Bhaskarena Prabhayata. Though in some contexts Rama and I may be seen as two different or distinct entities, we both are not at all distinct entities. I am not different, I am indistinct or non-distinct from Rama, just like the orb of the sun and the sun itself. Can anyone separate the orb of the sun from the sun? Like, it can never happen, because it is Nitya Yoga. It is eternal association, and nobody can separate the orb of the sun from the sun. Of course, is the sun eternal? That's a different question. But as long as the sun is there, he cannot be separated from his orb. In this context, it goes further, because Goddess Mahalakshmi and Lord Narayana are also eternal, and their relationship also is eternal. So their very existence is together only. So togetherness of these two is the sum and substance of their existence. That is the ultimate thing. That is the best way to put it, I think. Togetherness is the sum and substance of their existence. It is what is mentioned as Ivalode Kudiye Vastuvinudaya Unmai. Ishvara Swatantryattayam Chetananudaya Aparadhattayam Kanda Ahalamattal. So this is the next sutra, which I will explain in the next class. Today, I think I'll conclude here. The commentary portion of the Manavalamamni will be read and discussed in the next class. Since tomorrow also I'm traveling, I didn't want to miss the class for one more week. So I actually requested the Keshav ji to see if we can have the class today. So he was very kind enough to have the class today itself. I am sorry for any inconvenience caused. If there are any live questions, you can ask. I'll be very happy to answer if I know the answer.
Swami, we understand philosophically that Sri Devi and Sriman Narayana are always together. But we have
Yes.
in the Puranic stories, we have the Puranic story or even Mahatmya story of Lord Venkateshwara, that there was a separation between Lakshmi and Lord Narayana, and she came here and he came here, and then they had to meet up again. So this is just in Leela Vibhuti, right? There's no actual separation.
Yeah, it cannot happen. So there is no actual separation. So one very important aspect you have to note is the Sthala Puranams. What is the place of Sthala Puranams? Once again, this is not so discussed threadbare by the people who give discourses, because it's a very tricky topic to deal with. So even the question is asked. So when when the Milky Ocean was churned, it is only then that goddess Mahalakshmi came out of the Milky Ocean, and then only Lord Narayana took her for her as his consort. So before that, where was she? So because we say Lakshmim Chira Samudra Raja Tanaya, she is the daughter of the Milky Ocean. But before that, then how do we say that Goddess Lakshmi is eternal and Lord Narayana is eternal and their relationship is eternal? So this has to be explained in great detail. I will not go into that detail now. But one very important aspect is whether you take the case of Srirangam or any other place or any Divya Desha for that matter, it is always associated with Rama and Krishna. So, as far as Srirangam is concerned, they say that Labdhva Kuladhanam Raja Lankam Praya Vibhishana. There is a statement in the Rama Pattabhishek Sarga, which deals with the coronation of Rama, where all it is mentioned is Labdhva Kuladhanam Raja. Vibhishana, he got his Kuladhana, some riches, which would last him for his entire lineage. And he started back to Lanka. So Kuladhana is interpreted as the Purti of Lord Ranganath. But when you see, as far as purely speaking about Ramayana, you have to understand it in a very balanced manner. So don't mistake me, or if you have any questions, you can ask later. So in the Ramayana, there is no mention of any particular temples or icons or worshipping this iconic form or other things. Of course, in the Ayodhya Kanda, when Rama is asked to take a vow on the previous day of the coronation, he says Narayana Mupad. The word Narayana is used in several places. In fact, Ravana himself feels Rama is the incarnation of Lord Vishnu. He says, Yasya Vikramasadya Rakshasa Nidhanangataha Tambanye Rakam Veeram Narayana. So Ravana himself says, if so many demons who are invincible were to be killed by Rama, then I think verily he says, verily Rama should be the incarnation of Narayana himself, not Vishnu or somebody else. So, this is what Ramayana. In Ramayana, you don't have any specific reference to any temple or any iconic form or anything like that. So, for example, if you take the case of Melkote also, we say that the Lord Shelva Pillai is named as Ramapriya. So several people in Melkote are called as Ramapilla. That is the name of Lord Chandrapalli. So in Srirangam, all the children will be named after Ranganath. They'll say Ranganatha or Rangana, some several other synonyms. When they may say Rangaswamy or something like that, several other synonyms. They'll name the sons or children after the name of the presiding deity there. So in Melkote, it is Sampat Kumar or Ramapriya or Tirunarayana or something like that. Several other names which are synonyms. So my guru conducted detailed. He saw that Divya Desha is associated with Lord Rama or Lord Krishna, either Mahabharata or Ramayana, but there is no mention about that in Mahabharata or Ramayana. Later he found out that these are, and when you go to any Divya Desham in Tamil Nadu, there will be the icon of a rishi also in that place, in most of the places. They will say Shandilyarik Pratyaksha. This Lord was, he appeared before this rishi called Shandilya, or some rishi will be sitting there. So these where we say about Vairmudi that Krishna gave this, Garuda gave this, etc., etc., etc. These are the divine experiences of the rishis who consecrated these temples. So you should not say, you should not analyze this in a historical manner. You should analyze it in a Puranic manner, where these experiences, these are the divine experiences of the rishis, are the persons who had the exalted vision of the Lord, where they said, this has happened like this has happened like this. So that is how the Sthala Puranas are all, they have come into being. So tomorrow, if somebody asks, how did the icon come from Vaikuntha, how did it emerge? We cannot give any logical answer to this. Because it should have been, this icon should have been prepared by some Shilpi or some sculptor. So when you say, when a sculptor has to prepare an iconic form, either of Panchaloha or of stone or whatever it is, of course, in our Sampradaya, we should not be, what is that, Upadana, because that is it's a sinful thing, because we consider the icon as the Lord himself. So there is a, what is that, contradiction between this and that. So this contradiction is revealed when we say these Sthala Puranas should not be taken as historical evidences. So they are the divine experiences of the rishis who consecrated the temple. So that is how we should see these things. Now, what was the question actually?
I was just mentioning the Sthala Puranam of Venkateshwara Mahatmyam, that
is why I mean, in the Venkateshwara Mahatmya also, it is actually authored by some sages who made it the part of the Puranas. So there they have to glorify the greatness of Venkateshwara. Of course, it is not false. Glorify means one should not feel that something which was not there was glorified. So then it is mentioned that the goddess Lakshmi separated from him, and then she came here, and then Lord came in search of her. That doesn't mean that she doesn't exist in Vaikuntha at that time. They have actually depicted it in such a way that what made Lord Narayana come and have an iconic form in Tirumala. So to glorify that, the Kshetra of Tirumala, they have mentioned it like that. So it is not false. It is not historical evidence. You should not confront it with historical evidence, when it happened, whether it is 2500, January 15th, did it happen like this? Or February 22nd, 2025, it happened like this. No, it's not like that. That is why even many times people ask, why haven't they dated the Vedas? Why haven't they? Their sense of history is very poor. No, it doesn't matter at all for us when it happened, on which day, which date, etc. Of course, some evidences are there. For example, Gita Jayanti is celebrated. We say it is on this day that Gita was given. But we don't mention about the year, etc. Because it doesn't matter. See, Gita, even after another 1,000 years, it is the same thing. It is Jivatma, Paramatma, all these things are going to exist. And every person who wants to attain God or the Supreme Lord, he has to perform Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, or Prapatti. Ultimately, Prapatti he has to do. So even after 2,000 years, the Gita will become eternal, will remain eternally relevant. So we are not worried about which date, how it was written, whether Vedavyasa wrote it like this, he made Ganesha. We don't worry about this at all. We are worried with the subject matter, you are not worried. Of course, we say Lord Krishna himself has said it, there is no doubt about that. But we are not worried about the historical, we don't say which date, which time, is it between 2:30 p.m., so many seconds to 2:45 p.m., so many seconds, etc. So that is how it is. So that is why you should not confuse history with Puranic law. So even with regard to Kshira Samudra and how Lakshmi, so before that, where was Lakshmi? Then how did all these things come into existence before creation, if you ask? So the Kshira Samudra episode itself is a very, very beautiful episode, which has a totally different meaning in a different context. So some aspects of this are very much allegorical. So in the Bhagavatam itself, in the 5th canto, the concept of allegory is very beautifully mentioned, and I am sure Keshav, you would be knowing this. It is known as the Puranjanopakhyam, where a very beautiful story is mentioned, where a person who goes to a beautiful garden, he is enamored about the fruits, he is enamored about the flowers there, etc. And then he loses himself, he doesn't know why he has come there. It's very beautiful. Then in the Bhagavatam itself, directly in the text itself, it says the significance of the Puranjanopakhyana is as follows. Here Puranjana is this. And it equates all of these characters to one aspect. So it's an analogy in modern or in the biblical terms, or not in biblical terms, in terms of drama, it is called as an allegory. So most of the Puranas are in the form of allegorical terms. You see the Ramayana, when you Tattvartha, very deep into the Tattva of Ramayana, you can see Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and Vibhishana. Kumbhakarna is always sleeping. 6 days he sleeps, then one day he is awake, then once again he sleeps for 6 months. What is this? It's nothing but the personification of Tamoguna. Tamas is what makes person sleep. Of course, we also require Tamoguna, but in a very balanced manner. Similarly, what is Ravana? He always wants to enjoy sensual pleasures. So establish his supremacy over all others. Hate good things. It is Rajoguna. And what is Vibhishana? It is Sattva-guna. So the Supreme Lord overcomes Rajas and Tamas and he accepts Sattva. So from a very, very Tattvic point of view, we call it as Tattvic point of view, Tattva point of view. This is what it is. That doesn't mean Ramayana is not historical. We have several evidences. But even in that history, you find some Tattva. So I hope I have answered your question.
Yes. So Sri Devi or Lakshmi, Mahalakshmi, she's always with Sriman Narayana. She's eternally associated with him. But yes. She's eternal, he's eternal. Another question would be why we are also eternal, and he has eternal servitors like Vishwaksena, Adishesha, and these persons in Nityasuris. They are also eternally associated with him, right? In the same way as Mahalakshmi.
Yes, of course. But there is a slight difference between Mahalakshmi and the other Jivatmas. But we are Jivatmas, we have also emanated from him. So we are also his Amshas, because Lord Krishna specifically says, Mamaiva Amsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanat. And once again, we have to go and join him. But then why did he separate us from himself? That is the question raised in Sri Bhashya. So why does he separate us from him and give us all these miseries? And then he wants us to come back to him. Why the game? He says it's a game. And Lokavattu Leela. The answer is, it is his wish. And recently I was told by a very great scholar, the same question, why creation, why creation, why creation? Why did we come into being? And where are we going to go? And why do we go? Why do we are enamored of so many things? We want to enjoy so many things in life. We are bound by so many things. We undergo undue miseries, undue difficulties. Why does he put us through all these things? Why can't he keep quiet? There is no answer. It is his Leela, and it is mentioned as Swayam Prayojana Vyaparo. And it is mentioned just like children play. For what they play? Children will not play for some trophy or some prize money or for something else. They will, when we were young, what we used to do, whenever we used to come across the sand, they will build a big gopuram or something like that, and a temple and all those things. So the children will do like that. And then after the play is over, when everybody has to go home, when it is nearing twilight, the children will stamp all over it, and then it will become sand once again, and they will go. Why did you play? It is for playing sake only. So it is Swayam Prayojam. That means there is no other intention of doing it except for some pleasure. Then once again the question is, does the Lord derive pleasure? Is he a sadist? He puts us through so many miseries and he enjoys it. There is no answer. You try to realize and you attain him. That's all is the answer. Even in the one great scholar with whom I was discussing this issue, he told even in the Bhagavatam there is a very beautiful episode, I have not read it, called Udanka Prashna, where a great devotee called Udanka questions Lord Krishna, why did you do all these things? You make all the people born, you created 100 Pandava, 100 Kauravas, 5 Pandavas, then you made this Kauravas rebel against the Pandavas, you made them engage in so many bad activities and all those things. Then you created the war, then you said, kill all these people. Ultimately, everybody is killed. Only 3 people are Ashwatthama, Kripacharya, and one more person are alive on the Kaurava side. On the Pandava side, only 5 are, even the Upapandavas, the children of the Pandavas are all killed. Abhimanyu is killed. Abhimanyu's son, Ashwatthama, is killed. Arjuna's son, Abhimanyu, is killed. So only Uttara, who is Abhimanyu's son, is specifically protected by Krishna by Apandavas, from the Apandavas, which was used by. Why did you do all these things? What is the fun in doing all these things? Or why do you create and why do you then dissolve everything? And Krishna doesn't give an answer at all. He just laughs and he proceeds to this question. All other questions are answered. I want to read that Prakarana or that portion. I have not been able to do it. So even the Lord does not give any specific answer to this very, very, very intriguing question. But we cannot help. You are put into this world. You have to try to do as much as you can to extract yourself from these miseries and ultimately attain the Lord. Many times when elders give some order to the younger people, they ask why this, why that. So in one stage we say you don't ask any question, you just obey me if you want to obey me. Otherwise you do whatever you want. That is the answer given by the parents to the children many a times if they listen. See, I cannot keep answering, or when a patient goes to a doctor, the doctor may give some explanation and say, you please consume this medicine, you will be all right. Now, why this medicine, why this, why you have that? The doctor cannot explain the entire anatomy of the human body to the patient in few minutes or even few hours. It may take several years to do so. All the underlying principles, etc. So he'll say, sir, please don't worry about those things. You consume this medicine, you will be all right. If you are not all right, you come back to me. I will see what is to be done next. So like that, the order of the Lord seems to be, from what I have understood, if I am correct, you engage in whatever I have told you. Sarvadharman paritijya mamekam sharanam bradi. I will rid you of all these things and I will take care of what is to be done for you. So you do your duty, don't worry about other things. That doesn't mean that you should not read the Shastras, etc. Your questioning also has some end. You cannot go on questioning. So in some place you have to say, this is the faith you have to believe. So believe in me, believe what I have said, and engage in what I have told you to do. I will take care of the rest of things.
So this quote about swaprayojana, is it from some shastra that answer has come? His own he's doing it for his own purpose.
There is the verse, just like a small child will be playing with some what is that toys. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is doing. That's what it says.
So what?
It is Swayam Prayojana.
Where is it from? That verse?
I don't remember. It is there in the commentary of Sri Bhashma. I'll find out and I'll let you.
Thank you.
It is mentioned Balaha Kridana Kairiva. This specific example is given. Just as a child plays with toys. So sometimes suddenly it will just hit it on the ground also sometimes. Or it may do whatever it wants. Similarly, the Supreme Lord also does whatever he wants with regard to creation. Chedramanujetyesha chatura chaturakshari kamavastham prapadyante jantavo hantamadrisha punyam bhoja vikasaya papadvan takshiyaya cha Shriman avirabhut bhumo ramanuja divakaraha Pranikೃತ ವಿರಿಂಚಾರ ನಿರಂಕುಶ ವಿಭೂತಯಃ ರಾಮಾನುಜ ಪದಾಂಭೋಜ ಸಮಾಶ್ರಯಣ ಶಾಲಿನಃ. In fact, today I am in a place called Shimla in North India. So there is an international literature festival going on, which is organized by the Culture Department of the Government of India. And I am sitting in a room in Shimla. And today I spoke about the greatness of the Alvars and their contribution to Bhakti literature. Of course, only 15 minutes was given to me. So within the 15 minutes, I tried to say what I could say. And I focused on the greatness of the Nammalvar and Periyalvar. And also about the Bhakti literature, what Bhakti is, etc. And it was well received. And about the Alvars, and though they are also from North India and many other parts of India, they knew the names of the Alvars and their contribution, etc. And two other fellow panelists mentioned about the greatness of Andal or Goda Devi. So the message of the Alvars has reached far and wide all over the country, and now it is reaching all over the world. I am so happy about it. So once again, I thought it is a continuation of my talk earlier today. So I am very happy because tomorrow, once again, I will be traveling in the night, so I would not be able to have the class. So I am very happy that I could come here and talk about the Alvars in a very generic forum.
Right. Thank you. Speaking of the Alvars, I wanted to ask a question. Yesterday I was speaking with Dr. Tirunarayan Swami, who does in Sri Rangam. He's doing classes with us also, and I asked him by the count I have seen, the Tengalais have a count of 3,910 pasurams, and the Wadagalais have a count of 4,000, exactly 4,000 pasurams. Is it due to some difference in counting?
No, I don't think it is correct, because as far as this issue is concerned, I don't feel it has it's a Tengalai Vadagalai issue at all. So kindly, I think he has not given you the correct picture. So don't mistake me for saying so.
No, maybe
Hello?
it's my mistake thinking that it's a Wadagalai Tengalai difference, but it's
it is not at all an issue of Tengalai Vadagalai, because there is nowhere it has been mentioned that Vadagalais have this much and Tengalais have this much. Two aspects are there in this regard. One is how to arrive at the number of 4,000. Annangaracharya Swami has even this has written a very detailed essay in this regard. So what happens, the counting of all these pashrams by all the Alvars, there is no difference of opinion in that. Two aspects are there. One aspect is in the Periya Tirumudi of Tirumange Alvar. There are two prabandhams, that is Shiriya Tirumudi, not in the Periya Tirumudi, in the Yerpa. There are two prabandhams, namely Shiriya Tirumadi and Periya Tirumadi. In that, what happens, it is not in the form of a stanza which has 4 quarters or four padas, as we call it. They are in the form of couplets. So if you consider each couplet as one stanza, then you count it in a different manner. If you don't do it, if you consider them as consider 2 couplets together as one stanza, then there is a different method of counting it. But I will share with you that document where he has counted all these things. He has put a beautiful table and says, if you go by this school of thought, it is like this. Not Tengalai Vadagalai at all. 2 methods of classification, that's all. That's got nothing to do with Tengalai Vadagalai. So 2 methods of classification are there, and that is how it is. So in this regard, there is no...
The text is exactly the same.
Text is exactly the same.
No. Just so, like the method of counting, which is the first verse, is different.
The opinion that Ramanujanottam be added, that is also another that is mentioned. You are muted, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, Ramanujanutrandadi is added, 108 pasurams.
Yes, that is added. Whether that should be added or not, because that was composed by Tiruvaranga Tamudanar, or a disciple of Ramanujacharya, after, that is, who was a contemporary junior disciple of Ramanujacharya. But there is no difference of opinion regarding that, because all the Vadagalai Sampradaya people also chant the Ramanujanottam without fail. And they don't doubt the authenticity or anything like that. So some people say Ramanujanottam is not included, and once again, that's not a Tengalai Vadagalai issue at all.
Swami Ariyandasan. I can't cite the source, but I was reading online that very originally 12,000 pasurams were there, and because of apacharam, only 4,000 could be retrieved. Is that true, or is that just someone writing nonsense?
No. There is no basis to such a view. I have not at all come across it. There is no basis to such a view, because it is in Alayana Divya Prabandham is mentioned. Some people might have mentioned in this context, because in Nayanmars, the Shaiva sides, they have sung 12,000.
Oh.
So somebody might have mentioned, so that is 12,000, it is only 4,000. So they might have said, it is purely my guess, Because until now, I have not come across any. There were 12,000, 8,000 or less. No. Somebody might have in Shiva Vaishnava thing also there were 12,000, but 8,000 was last. There was only 4,000. No. Myanmar's there were 63 in number, 63 plus 1, and they have sung 12,000. That is as far as the Shaiva is called as Devar. So the Shaiva Prabandhams, Tamil Prabandhams.
Thank you.
The comment.
Can we conclude?
Yes, we can conclude. The comment, I was just going to say, the commentaries on the Nalai Divya Prabandham also there's the 8,000, the 12,000, the 36,000. So sometimes that people may be mistaking this.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So you have on the Thiruvayamudi specifically, you have 5 commentaries. First is Arayarapadi, that is 6,000 granthas. One grantha is equal to 32 letters. So the way to measure them is 6,000 into 32. Then you have the Ombadanayarapadi, that is 9,000 commentary. Then you have Pannirayarapadi, 12,000 commentary. Then Niravatnalayarapadi, 24,000 commentary, and Eid Mupattarayarapadi, 36,000 commentary. Then one more commentary is now it has been discovered 18,000 commentary by Periya Parakara Swami or somebody. That has not been published or it was not available, but somebody has unearthed it. Similarly, on the Tirupavai, you have Arayarapadi, Muvayarapadi. Arayarapadi are 6,000 commentary on Tirupavai itself by Periya Vachan Pillai. Then Jananyacharya has written 2 commentaries, Irayarapadi and Nalayarapadi. 2,000 commentary and 4,000 commentary. Then another commentary by another Acharya is Muvayarapadi. So Tirupavai itself has 4 commentaries. Tiruvayamudi has 6 commentaries. So like Keshavdasi rightly pointed out, somebody might have confused the commentary with the number of Pashurams.
श्रीशैलेश दयापात्रम् धीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवम् यतीन्द्रप्रवणम् वन्दे रम्यजामातरम् मुनिम् लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भाम् नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् यो नित्यम् अच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणम् प्रपद्ये लोकाचार्याय गुरवे कृष्णपादस्य सूनवे संसारभोगिसन्दष्टजीवजीवातवे नमः।
ॐ नमो नारायणाय ॐ नमो नारायणाय